Hello and welcome to Paul's eLearning Podcast. My name is Paul Andrews and this is my podcast about using free and open source tools and technologies to work smarter, not harder. On this episode, I want to talk about a workshop that I ran recently which showcased how people can create and maintain a website without huge expense, and also discuss briefly a new workshop we're running in the new year, which is free, which is going to showcase how you can create and deliver stunning presentations. So we'll get right into it then. So recently I ran a workshop which basically showcased how people could create a website without any monthly maintenance costs to pay to website designers and providers and that kind of thing. Now there is a link to this. I'll put the link in the podcast as well. There's a link to a Prezi that was delivered as part of this workshop. But I'm just going to very briefly talk you through the idea. So the idea basically is if you need a website for a business or a club or a class or a school or anything really, then you have lots and lots of different options available to you. But the tool that I would advocate to use to create such a thing will be Google Sites. Now this is a free service that's offered by Google, and it lets anyone create any number of different websites. So you can have as many websites as you want, and they can be for any purpose, including class websites, club websites. You can even use them to make online shops and stores if you want to. But in the workshop, basically I was talking to lots of different sports clubs who wanted a presence online for their members and for the public. So we had a look at Google Sites. Now to go to Google Sites, the web address you need is sites.google.com, and if you go there you can sign up. You will need a Google account to make use of this, but if you already have a YouTube account or a Gmail account or a Google Drive account, then you've got access to Google Sites straight away. And so effectively what we looked at was how people could make use of this service, because it lets them make 4 different types of web pages within a particular site. So there's a standard type of web page where you can add in text and images and videos and hyperlinks and all that kind of stuff you see normally on the internet. But it also lets you create file cabinets. So for the clubs I was talking to, they had a lot of documentation that they wanted their members to have access to. So when we're looking at this, I said to them, well, if you've got them in Word documents, if you save those documents as PDF files, or even if you want to, you can save them as native Google Docs type files. And what this means is that when people come to look at these files online, the files will just be displayed in their web browser if it's a PDF or this Google Docs type format. And Google Docs, in fact, will convert any document you've already got in Microsoft Word format. It'll convert it for you free of charge, so you can do this if you want to. But so you can make a web page in Google Sites. You can also make a kind of file cabinet page. So you can have these document repositories where you can put all of these documents into various folders and organize them as you see fit. The other thing we looked at was Google Sites will let people create what's called lists. So you can actually create, it's basically like a very simplified online spreadsheet. You can have more complicated online spreadsheets if you make use of Google Drive and in particular Google Sheets. Now for those of you who aren't familiar with this, Google has its own web-based cloud storage solution, but it also comes built into that also comes the facility to edit documents within a web page, and you can edit Word documents, spreadsheets and presentations, amongst other things. You can have very sophisticated spreadsheets with formulas and graphs and that kind of thing, but if you want a fairly simple spreadsheet, just a couple of columns with some data in, you can make a list type page as well within the Google site and enter your data in there and then, and it allows people to then filter and sort on that data. And the fourth and kind of final type of page that Google Sites lets you make is an announcements page, and this basically, if you're familiar with the terminology, this basically lets you create a blog within your Google site. So you can put up news announcements, and as a result of you putting up those news announcements, the Google site will automatically generate what's called an RSS feed. Now RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication, and again, if you're not familiar with this, it basically acts as a connector. This thing allows you to connect the news from your website to other websites and services. So it will allow you to post up news announcements and allow your users, your site visitors, to subscribe to your news. So it acts as a kind of hook where people can stay updated to your news and announcements without having to keep visiting your website, which can be very, very handy. So we had a look at Google Sites and we looked at how you can add text in and images. We also looked at how people can find free images that they can use legally. Because one of the problems when you're creating a website, obviously, you want to make it look nice, but a lot of the times people will do a Google image search and just grab the first thing that comes up. And the problem with that is most of the time, the images you're using might be copyrighted, so you could land in a bit of hot water for using them unauthorized on your website. So what I did was I actually directed people to a website called Pixabay. So the web address for this is pixabay.com. pixabay.com. And this is a great website because it has a whole load of public domain, high resolution, high quality images that you can use on your site. So we had a look at how you can grab images from Pixabay, and then because they're public domain, you can edit them. So we then looked at how people can edit them using another free resource called PicMonkey. That's PicMonkey.com. We've mentioned PicMonkey before on the podcast. So this is a free web-based photo editing software package. It's brilliant. And so what we were doing is we were grabbing images off Pixabay, editing them within PicMonkey, and then inserting them into the Google site. So we had a look at how you could do that. And when we also looked at the easy way in which you can integrate Google Docs, so you can have spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations embedded live in a web page within your Google site, and also YouTube videos, how you can quickly and easily embed YouTube videos into the Google site as well. Everyone in the workshop, basically, the workshop lasted for a couple of hours, but the idea was that everyone walked out of that workshop with a live website up and running for their sports club, which is what they did, and it was a great success. And I was really pleased with that. So once everyone had got their website up and running, we then had a look at how people could connect it to social media. So the idea behind this is that, you've got a website that people can come to, and you have an announcements page within that website that you can put news onto, but you want to give your visitors the maximum number of ways of subscribing, of getting hold of that news that you've got for them. So whilst they can subscribe via the website, it's also a good idea to automatically push your news out onto as many social media channels as you possibly can. Now, this can be quite time consuming, so we looked at a tool that would let everyone automate this process, that would take the news that they were posting on the announcements page and automatically push it out to, if they had a blog or their Twitter account or Facebook or LinkedIn or Google Plus or any of the other social media networks that you can think of. And so the tool we used for this, it was a tool called IFT. Now, the web address for this is ifttt.com. It stands for if this, then that. And what IFT lets you do is program, it's very, very, very simple. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's really simple to use. You do using icons. It lets you create simple rules that say, if I post up some news on my Google site announcements page, then post this news out onto my social media platforms, whichever ones they're using. So we were able very quickly to set up a Google site, put text and images and videos up there, put documents up there as well, and then create this announcements page, which then automatically fired off updates to each sports club's social media account. So they could say to their members, yes, the website's here, but if you want to stay updated, you've got lots and lots of different ways that you can use to stay engaged with our stuff. So that was the workshop that we ran, and if you do want more information on that, if you want to check out the Prezi or check out any of the links to all of the resources that we used in the workshop, you can go to bit.ly/Google Sites for Sports, and 4 is the number 4, so it's all one word, no spaces. It's Google Sites, and then the number 4, and then Sports. I'll put a link to this in the podcast description as well if you wish to check it out. So that was a workshop that we ran, and now moving on to a workshop that we're going to be running. We are running, we did Life After PowerPoint back in October, and as a result of that, we've actually been asked back to do another one. This time, the last session we ran was actually in Caerphilly in South Wales. This new one, we are running it down in Swansea in South Wales, and it is completely free if you want to attend. It's no problem at all. It's called Life After PowerPoint if you want to attend it, and what we basically do is we go through, how you can design and construct your next presentation to make it engaging for people. We have a look at some of the do's and the don'ts of presentations, and then we also look at several free presentation tools that you can use, kind of alternatives to PowerPoint. So these are things like Prezi. We also have a look at Google Docs presentations, and we also have a look at Powtoon, which is a lovely free kind of animation piece of software, and it lets people make little cartoons for their businesses as well. So we have a look at those, and then we also look at where people can find high quality graphics, music, sound to integrate into their presentations, again, legally, so they're not getting into any kind of hot water. So if you do have to give a presentation, if you're working in business, or if you're an educator that wants to maybe spruce up some of your lessons, please do feel free to come along. It's taking place, it's at 9:30 until 4:00 on Tuesday the 7th of January, and it's taking place in the Village Hotel in Swansea. So if you do want to attend, there's a link to it on the events tab of our main website, and again, I'll put a link to the sign up page directly below this podcast as well. So feel do feel free to come along. Places are quite limited, so it's first comes, first served. So I'll say get your name down now, and then we can guarantee you a place.
Please hang up and try again.
So in addition to the workshops we've been running and the workshops we are going to run, we've also updated the website with some new free tools and resources. And these are all listed on the news page of the website. And if you do subscribe via Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or any of those things, you'll have seen these kind of popping up. But I'm just going to very briefly give you some of the highlights. If you have an iPad, we've got a couple of new free apps for you. One is called QR Code Maker. It lets you make the QR codes, those funny kind of black and white square things you sometimes see on posters and food packaging and stuff like that. So you can make those on your iPad if you want to. And the other thing that we've got on the iPad resource page is a really cool app, and it's called 123D Creature. And this is brilliant, especially for schools, particularly primary schools, I'm thinking, because it lets the pupils, it lets the children design a monster. And you start by kind of building its wireframe skeleton, and then you kind of sculpt clay around it to form the monster shape. And then you can texture and colour it all in, and then animate this kind of 3D monster. It's made by the people who make Autodesk, which is a very popular commercial CAD package. So it's very high quality, completely free of charge. It's 123D Creature. It's free in the App Store, but if you go along to our iPad resources page, you'll see it in there as well. Other bits and bobs that we've added, well, we've added a link to the Google Apps for Education store now. Google have actually, they've got their Android store, which is Google Play, but they've actually added in a brand new section to that called, say, Google Apps for Education. So if you are working in education, you want to have some free apps and some paid for apps as well, designed specifically for educational purposes, you might want to check that out too. And finally, we've added a new page to the site which details how you can get your hands on some free transcription software. Now, the reason we've done this is because we were working with a university, and they had paid about £300 or £400 for some transcription software a couple of years back, and it came with like a little pedal and a microphone and this, that and the other. So for those of you who aren't familiar, by the way, transcription is just this process of if you've recorded an interview and you need to then get it down, you need to get it all typed up. So the idea is you can listen to the sound file, and you have a little USB pedal which is on the floor, and if you want to pause the sound file, you operate it with your foot whilst you're typing on the keyboard. But they'd lost the software that actually drove this thing. So they said to us, well, can you find us any software that will do this? Otherwise, we've got to spend like 350 quid on getting the software again. The hardware was working fine, but it was just the software. So we had a look, and we came across a piece of software called Express Scribe Transcription Software. Now, there is a link to this on our transcription software page, but what this free piece of software, it lets you kind of download it, and then it works with all of the various pedals that you can buy. Like I say, if you don't want to have one of these big expensive ones, you can pick up these transcription pedals for about 20 quid from Amazon. So it's if you're doing lots of interviews, if you're doing like a master's or a PhD kind of dissertation or a thesis or something, can be quite helpful without the huge costs associated with commercial transcription software. So that's about all we've got time for this week. So if you do have any questions or comments, please do feel free to contact me. You can get hold of me on email, and my email address is paul@paulselearning.com. My Twitter handle is @paulselearning. And if you do want to rate us and leave a comment on iTunes, then that'd be fantastic too. But otherwise, thank you very much for listening, and I hope to be talking to you again very, very soon.